Welcome back to Winterverse. I'm Andrew, and today I'm playing Marvel United. So last week I did a Marvel United playthrough, and it just made me want to do another one. So after this, you will see about 95% of all of my painted content. I think I have like 2 more minis that I painted, and the rest have been on the channel among these 2 videos. So I have a lot of work left to do. I also said that I have just an X-Men collection. As you can see, that was a lie. We've got Squirrel Girl and Ms. Marvel here that I picked up as singles on eBay from season 1. I also have 2 more season 1 characters. But anyway, I'm going to be playing against Nimrod. But Nimrod starts out of play. And instead, we're going to have to face the Sentinels until we can beat all 3 of them. And then Nimrod will appear. So we've got a pretty unlikely team with Gambit, Ms. Marvel, Professor Xavier, and Squirrel Girl, and I've randomized their positions around the table. I have one thing left to do, which is to assign each of them one of these Sentinel tokens. And in a 4-player game, 1 player is not going to get one. So I am playing 4-player, even though I'm alone. I'm just going to play all 4 hands. So let's see who gets Sentinel token number 1. 1 through 5, it will be Squirrel Girl. 6 through 10 is Gambit, and so on. 13 is going to be Professor X is being targeted by Sentinel number 1. And then we'll do 6, 12, 18, a 15. Skipping Xavier means Ms. Marvel's targeted by Sentinel number 2. And the Squirrel Girl will be 1 through 10. So on a 3, she is targeted by Sentinel number 3, which means Gambit is not directly targeted by a Sentinel, but he's still going to get attacked by some Sentinels sometimes. So the way this works, instead of playing with the 3 missions, if you're familiar with Marvel United, those 3 missions are out, and instead we've got the 3 Sentinels, and instead of doing a master plan card after every 3 hero turns, after every single turn, we're going to activate the Sentinel activation protocol. So apologies if some of that is blocked, but it says that after each hero turn, the Sentinel matching that hero's token is going to activate. And in Gambit's case, he'll get to choose which of the 3 Sentinels will activate. And then what they're going to do is based on the last 2 cards worth of hero cards that are in the storyline. For each move icon, it will move closer to the target or increase the Nimrod activation track. On a heroic action, it will add a bystander. On an attack symbol, it will damage a hero, and a wild, it will recover a health, or rather 1 health for each Sentinel production threat card, which we've got 2 of around the map. In addition, if the most recent card from a hero has a special effect, the activation track goes up as well. And finally, it will hit its target if they're in their spot with the Sentinel. So they'll be moving around and moving toward their targets and attacking them and so on. The Nimrod activation track is right here. So I should actually mark that as 0 for now. The overflow ability is also to increase the activation track. So if I can't put a bystander or civilian, or a thug rather, onto one of these spaces when I need to, that will raise the Nimrod activation track. And the stronger that track gets, the stronger Nimrod is when he comes out. Each Sentinel has 5 health. So that's 5 for Sentinel 1, 5 for Sentinel 2, and 5 for Sentinel 3. Oh, and each of the locations need their starting thugs and civilians. These are the Game Crafter components, not from the game. But let me add those. And let's see how this goes. Oh, I'm also playing with the Danger Room. So at the starting location for the heroes, which is Krakoa, I've got the Danger Room, which is from the First Class box set. Normally, if we defeat this threat, the mutant detection in this case, that will unlock the Krakoa ability, but in this case, we can use the Danger Room ability instead. Krakoa would let the player entering their turn send all heroes here to another location, but if they choose to gain Danger Room instead, they will get a training card from this little deck, which has a variety of effects that I haven't really looked at. And I also haven't played against the Sentinels and Nimrod before. So I don't know. I got the feeling it is a hard one, which is why I decided to try out the Danger Room as well, because that is strictly a help for us. I decided to start with Gambit. I don't know, but we're going to play Master Thief. It's going to give him a move icon, and he also gains a wild token and takes an action token of his choice from each other hero. So nobody else has one. So he doesn't have to steal anything. He's just going to get this wild token. And I think I'm going to spend it to make progress on this mutant detection so that we can try to unlock the Danger Room. Mutant detection says heroes taking damage here take an extra damage. And all 6 of these threats, when cleared, reduce the activation track. So normally the villain would go first, but because the Sentinels only go after each hero turn, I think that's going to be an exception, and Nimrod isn't out yet. So Gambit also has a move, and I think I'm going to move him to Island M. I'm not sure why, but I don't want to waste a move. So we've already got 3 people here. Let's start getting some motion going. And then his turn's over, which means a Sentinel has to activate. He doesn't have a token, which means it's his choice. But at this point, what does it matter? Well, probably not 1 because Xavier would be next. So let's choose Sentinel 3, which is Squirrel Girls. That way we have the most time to react to whatever it does next. But the only symbol it's getting is the 1 movement from Gambit's card. So it's just going to move 1 toward Gambit. So it's just going to go 1 toward Gambit. And now it's back to the hero's turn. And I'm just going to go clockwise for the rest of the game, which means it's Xavier's turn next. This is weird because normally I want to start running around and clearing the thugs and civilians from the other locations. But in this case, I'm not sure what I'm trying to be doing. I mean, the Sentinels have a lot of health to burn through. But I also do want to get rid of these threats. But every icon I play is going to be turned against me by the Sentinels. But I think I'm going to finish this. And to that end, I'm going to play a double wild from Professor X. And I totally forgot that each hero is supposed to draw a card at the start of their turn. So I've done that for Gambit and Xavier. And we're playing this double wild to get these 2 wild symbols, which is anything. But it's going to bite us a little bit during the Sentinel turn. So now Xavier gets to spend those 2 symbols from his card, plus the movement symbol from Gambit's card, the previously played card. Doesn't get the top effect, just the symbols at the bottom. The 2 wilds that I'm going to spend as heroic to put 2 more on this, which means it's filled up and completed. So this is gone, and now this ability is available. And again, we could do, if Xavier ends his turn here, he can either move everyone here somewhere else or gain a training card. And I wonder if he should just Krakoa over to the Adirondack Mountains and start hitting people. But we have to keep in mind the activations, because at the end of this turn, Sentinel number 1 is going to activate, but it's only going to activate with a move and 2 wilds. The 2 wilds are going to move 2 up the activation track. The move would move it toward Xavier, but if he's in the mountains, then it will do another move up the activation track. But I wonder how much damage we could dish out onto it. I think that number is 3. Or you could just end his turn here and get the training, which is kind of what I had planned. So maybe I should just do that. But I also just like the idea of turning those wilds into hits and just start on these Sentinels. He also has a move, but can't do the end of his turn effect to teleport with Krakoa and Gates and then move after that, which would be kind of nice. But you know what? I'm going in. So we're going to teleport everybody through the gate straight over to the Adirondack Mountains. Adirondack Mountains. That's a real place. I should be able to pronounce it. As Xavier ends his turn, which means Sentinel 1 is activating with 2 wilds and a move. The move, because Sentinel 1 is already in Xavier's location, is going to remove 1, and then 2 wild would recover 2 health, but it's full health, so it's just going to move up 2 more. And we're already up to 3. Oh, and I should not have... Ooh, I kind of wasted 1. I'm not going to rewind it, but that's a bummer. I cleared this threat when we were still at 0. Clearing the threat reduces it by 1, so I kind of wasted that. And I didn't even take the Danger Room benefit. So now it is Ms. Marvel's turn. Draw a card. Ooh, we got double attack, which is what I wanted. But Sentinel 2 is going to activate her against her next. And if I play these... Oh, this is so awkward now. Because now, how do you beat Sentinels? Because if I hit her for 2, 3, 4 damage, the wild symbols are just going to heal it. So I have to attack not Sentinel 2. So I'm going to attack Sentinel number 1. Sentinel 2 is the one that's going to activate. And they are numbered at the bottom. So this one is Sentinel 3, this is 1, and this is 2. The activation track, it's 15, we lose. But I think I just have to play the double attack card for Ms. Marvel. And with the 2 attack plus the 2 wild, we're going to do 4 damage to Sentinel number 1. So Sentinel 1 is down to 1 health. And then it's going to... And then Sentinel 2 is going to activate with 2 attack and 2 wild. The 2 attack deals damage to a hero in its location. And because I put 3 heroes there, I get to choose. The 2 wild is going to just move us up 2 more here. So who's got the worst cards in their hand? I guess it might be Xavier and Squirrel Girl. So I'll have each of them take 1 damage. For Squirrel Girl, it's going to be this common sense card that can actually just straight up win us the game. But I don't think it's going to work out. It's not a great opening card. So she's going to have to discard that card to the bottom of her deck. And with Xavier, I'm going to discard this card here, the Mind Alteration that can change thugs into civilians. But the only icon is a movement, and I don't think that ability is going to be super relevant this game. And also you might be able to see right there that Sentinel has a 1 on its base. So I painted them all black because I prefer my mini bases to be as unobtrusive as possible. But hopefully you're able to keep somewhat track of which Sentinel's which, or just don't worry about it, I'll tell you. Squirrel Girl's next, and we draw a single heroic icon, but she has a double attack. But I don't think she needs a double attack, because she still has the 2 damage from Ms. Marvel's card. Sentinel 3 is going to activate after she goes, but there's no hero in that space. So if she doesn't give it a movement, it won't do much. The wild symbol actually heals them for every Sentinel production card in play, which are some of the threats that we've started with. And that's a card that's at both of these 2 locations, the Adirondack Mountains and the Excalibur Lighthouse. But hopefully we can avoid that. The wording does not indicate that the track would advance an additional time. It just heals that much. When it actually only heals for each of those threats. So if we clear both those threats, they can't heal anymore, even if we play wilds. So in future games, that might be a good strategy, is try to avoid playing wilds until you've cleared both of the Sentinel production threats. But as it is, I'm already in the yellow zone there on that track. I think Squirrel Girl is also going to play a double attack. Or are we going to take a lot of damage here? Because Sentinel 3 is going to activate, and I can't kill Sentinel 3. I can finish off Sentinel 1. Oh, but Sentinel 3 is not in a space with any heroes. That's way over here. Did I already say that? And there's no if no heroes, then else do something. It just does nothing. So we can safely play this. So Squirrel Girl has 4 attack symbols. 1 can go onto Sentinel 1, which actually finishes it off. So I assume that just means it's done. Sentinel 1 will no longer be plaguing us. I can just get rid of this token from Xavier. And she's got 3 more damage, which she can put onto Sentinel 2, who's also in her space. Now at the end of her turn, Sentinel 3 activates to deal 4 damage, but there's nobody there. And we go to Gambit. I very brashly spent his wild token, because 2 of the cards in his hand are this molecular acceleration card, which says it has just a move, but if you discard any action token, it deals 3 damage to an adjacent location. So I probably should have kept that wild token to be discarded. Draw a card for him and I get a move and an attack, or I can play another Master Thief and give him another wild token for use next time. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to play this Master Thief. He gets another wild token. I'm not even thinking about what his Sentinel's going to do. Oh, he gets to choose, so I'll figure that out later. The move, I'm going to move him to here, but not until after using the Squirrel Girls to attack to clear these 2 thugs, just because otherwise it's wasted. And then the move will put him in Krakoa, where he can end his turn and get a training card. Or he could do another Krakoan Gate, but we'll take the training. It says it is a permanent card. When you use a move symbol to move, you can take another hero with you. So he has that for the rest of the game, unless he gets knocked out. But he's over here by himself anyway. So somebody is going to move toward Gambit and then attack twice. And I think it doesn't matter which one. So let's say it's Sentinel number 3, because neither of them would be able to get to Gambit. Professor X draws Telepathy. Choose another hero. They can swap any number of cards from their hand with the storyline, and it makes a wild. Well, nobody has that much on the storyline yet. Everybody's got okay cards. I guess Squirrel Girl's kind of bad. 2 more attack might be nice. Xavier doesn't have a Sentinel anymore. Instead of removing the token, I'm going to flip it over, because there's a difference between his Sentinel being defeated and Gambit not even having one. So I'm pretty sure at the end of Xavier's turn, we won't have to activate any Sentinels. So I think I'll use the heroic and attack here. So we've got 1 damage, 1 move, and 1 heroic. I'm going to use the attack to hit Sentinel number 2 for 1 more. The move to come over to the X-Jet, and a heroic to start on this second mutant detection, which deals an extra damage to everybody who takes damage there. His turn ends, no Sentinels activate, and then Ms. Marvel is going to be able to use that last attack to finish off Sentinel 2. We'll draw a card for her first. The end of her turn will have Sentinel number 2 activating. I think I'm going to play this move and heroic symbol. We'll use the attack to finish off Sentinel 2, so we don't have to worry about that activation, which means we can flip this thing over. Then with the move, we'll send her with Xavier, and the 2 heroic symbols can finish off mutant detection. When we clear that, we get to reduce the activation track by 1, putting us back into the white zone. And that's also unlocks the X-Jet ability. At the end of her turn, you can move to any other location. I think I will move her to here. Unfortunately, she won't be able to activate that end of turn effect because she's already used an end of turn effect. Squirrel Girl can draw a card. Night Vision, reveal the top of the master plan deck. You can put it at the bottom. Now all 3 of her cards are single icons, And this Sentinel will activate after she goes, but she's all the way over there. It's going to have a move and a heroic from that Ms. Marvel card. I don't think I want to play any wild because I don't want to move the threat or the activation track up anymore. And he doesn't have any health to heal. So if I'm not playing a wild, I'm just playing a single heroic action, which means she's got a move and 2 heroic. So I already cleared the threats that would deal us extra damage potentially. There are 2 data analyzers, which are only relevant if we get KO'd during this Sentinel phase, which I feel like we're almost out of. If we get KO'd, an extra track movement happens for each remaining data analyzer. And then the other 2 are the Sentinel production, which cause them to heal. But again, we're about to get rid of them. I don't know if these threats get referred to by the master plan cards once Nimrod comes out though. So I don't know if I need to care about them because I managed to get back down into the white zone. There's just 1 Sentinel left, but I've got the heroic action. So I'm going to spend them both to put progress onto that Sentinel production. And then a move symbol, go to the lighthouse or to the X-Jet. Guess I'll go to the X-Jet. And then at the end of her turn, this Sentinel gets to go. I think it moves first. I'm actually going to move it in with these 2 here to Krakoa. I'll give them an easier time of hitting it. And then it's going to add 2 bystanders because of the 2 heroic symbols. So I think those things have to happen in that order. So it's moving closer to Squirrel Girl, which is why I moved it at all. But I think I could have chosen to move it to the lighthouse instead because that's kind of this equidistant. But if I'd moved it to the lighthouse and then it tried to put 2 bystanders, it would have overflowed the lighthouse and we would have gotten an advancement. So we filled up with Krakoa with civilians now, and it's Gambit's turn. All he's got to work with is a single heroic symbol, and he is going to have to activate the Sentinel. So I think I'm going to move, well, first I need to play a card. Well, first I need to draw a card. I got a move and a heroic, but I'm going to play the molecular acceleration. It's going to give him a move symbol. But first I'm going to spend the heroic from Squirrel Girl to clear 1 civilian, just so there's a little more space. I'm going to use the move to move him here, but his danger room training is going to let him take an ally with him. So I'll use Ms. Marvel to go with him to the Sentinel space station, which is very thematic, by the way. I drew these locations randomly and was very pleased to get the Sentinel space station. Pretty good fit. And then we'll benefit from the molecular acceleration. We're going to spend his wild token, but he gets to deal 3 damage to an adjacent enemy, and that's going to be hitting the Sentinel number 343, bringing him down to 2. Gambit ends his turn and has to activate a Sentinel, which is going to be this one because it's the only one left. But it only gets the 2 icons, a move and a heroic. So it's going to move in with them and then add a civilian. Xavier draws leadership, give 2 heroic tokens to another hero, and then it gives a heroic. Fortunately, we don't have Sentinel activations for a couple turns. Not until Squirrel Girl, so we have plenty of time to finish this thing off. And Xavier doesn't have any damage. So I'm going to play that card I just drew, the leadership. I'm going to use the move to move Xavier back to the mountains. We use the heroic symbol to finish off the Sentinel production, which means I get to reduce the threat down to 3. And then he's going to give 2 of these tokens to Gambit, so for him to spend in the future or discard for more molecular acceleration. At the end of his turn, no Sentinels activate. Ms. Marvel draws double wild. She does just need to do 2 damage. Oh, and at the end of Xavier's turn, he could activate the Adirondack Mountains. You can gain an attack token, and you may exchange action tokens with another hero in this location. Oh, so he just gets an attack token. That's pretty good. So Ms. Marvel, I am going to play this double wild because we don't have to worry about the Sentinel activation because I'm going to just use both of those as damage and hit the Sentinel, who is right here in her space. Sentinel 3 is gone. She also has a heroic symbol. I think we'll just start making progress on the data analyzer. The other option would be to clear a thug, or I mean a civilian, but I think I'll keep that. And part of the reason I chose to play that is because she has this morphogenetics card, which says swap any number of cards from your hand with any of your face-up cards in the storyline. So she can get that back later. So now there are no Sentinels to activate, and that was the last 2 damage here. But that means we kick into the Nimrod phase. So I'm going to move the master plan deck onto the designated master plan spot on the mat. And Nimrod actually enters play right where Xavier is, because that's the normal villain starting location. I didn't think about that, but hopefully that doesn't hurt us. So now we've got the Nimrod special rules. He's always under pressure and maybe damaged, which basically is talking about the fact that we're not playing with the missions. Normally, villain can't be damaged until 2 missions are cleared. not using missions. As soon as Nimrod comes out, we can start hitting him. At the end of the turn in which he's reduced to 4 or less health, he immediately teleports to the opposite location. He's currently at 12 health for a 4-player game. When a hero is KO'd, he doesn't BAM. Instead, that hero is eliminated. Normally, heroes can come back after being knocked out, not once Nimrod arrives. And when he does BAM from one of his master plan cards, each hero in his location takes a damage, plus an extra damage if the track is yellow, or 2 extra damage if the track is red. And the villainous plot says the heroes lose if they're all eliminated. Of course, we also lose if this track gets up to 15. And I was mistaken when I said he's under pressure means he can be damaged right away. That is true, he can be damaged right away, but under pressure actually means he's going to play a card after every 2 hero cards. So we haven't actually seen master plan cards. Normally master plan cards would be entering the storyline every 3 turns until the villain becomes under pressure, which means one of the missions had been completed, in which case it becomes 2. But anyway, that is not what we're doing this game. Instead, Nimrod actually gets to take his turn right after Ms. Marvel's turn. And let's see what the first one is. Move clockwise to the next location with the hero with the most cards in hand. Well, Ms. Marvel and Gambit are tied and they're in the same location, so he's just going to go clockwise until he gets to them, and then he BAMs. And that hits them both for 1. So I'll resolve that in a second. In addition, he's going to add a lot more civilians. Oh wow, I didn't expect this. So 1 goes into the location where he's now standing, and 2 go into each of the adjacent locations, which means the X-Jet fills up and Krakoa fills up and overflows, and his overflow effect is to increase the track. So that's going to go here, and I have to resolve a damage for each of them. I think that's going to be this one from Ms. Marvel, Elongation. For Gambit, I think it'll be the move in Heroic. All right, well, that was a harsh attack, so we can't really let our heroes group up, it looks like. And I also have to be very cognizant of these overflows because that's going to push the track up, which could put us into yellow zone. And everybody's only got 2 cards left. So if it does get to yellow and then he happens to hit somebody, they're going down and then they're out. So Squirrel Girl gets to go. She is next to him. She's got double wild to work with. Let's draw a card for her, and it's a single attack. Oh, too bad. This is the Squirrel Army. Deal damage to a single enemy in every location. So she could have hit all 3 Sentinels at once with that card. But now it's just going to hit 1 damage on Nimrod. I kind of need to group up to hit him. I mean, that's where he is, right? So I think I'm going to play a wild and move into his location. I'm playing that night vision card. So I'm going to spend 1 of the 3 wilds to go here and 2 more wilds to deal 2 damage. Make stacks of 4, 8, 12, and then take 2 away. So he's just still at 10. And that's all 3 icons. We do get to look at the top master plan card though. It says he's going to move 3 and then add civilians. 1, 2, 3 is going to the lighthouse, and then the civilians will not overflow. So it's actually fine. So I'm going to leave that one there. Just have to know that's where he's headed. Gambit gets to go next. Drew a single wild, but we're going to do this in molecular acceleration. So I'm going to go ahead and spend 1 of his 2 tokens. The other one, should I save it or spend it? I think he's just got 2 of these molecular acceleration cards and he's played them both, so not a huge point to saving it. Unless we use Professor X's telepathy to give Gambit his acceleration back. That sounds kind of fun. So I'm going to save that one. Gambit will use the move to go here to Krakoa, and then the molecular acceleration for 3 damage, bringing Nimrod down to 7. He can also take somebody with him, and maybe that will be Squirrel Girl, or maybe Ms. Marvel. And I know that he's not going to BAM, so I might, at the end of the turn, use Krakoa to move them both over to the lighthouse. But before that, he does have a wild to spend. And in fact, I could have spent that wild while I was still here. So let's just make that another damage. Then we do the move. We use his training he already had to bring Ms. Marvel with them. And at the end of the turn, we'll use Krakoa to head over to the lighthouse. Man, that's twice that I could have gotten a Danger Room training card. And instead, I'm using the basic pre-printed. But I set it up randomly, so this just happened to be here. I've used the training that Gambit got too, though, for good effect. But now that we played 2 cards to the storyline, the villain does get to go play another master plan card, the one we already saw. So he's going to move 3 around to the lighthouse and then add civilians, filling up the lighthouse, the Adirondack Mountains, and just a couple civilians in Island M. Xavier is next. He drew a move in Heroic, but I think I will play the telepathy. It's going to give him a wild So he's only going to have a wild and a move. I have to be careful that I don't let Nimrod hit a bunch of people, so I think I do have to keep some people spread out. I think I'll use the wild to clear one civilian, just because I don't know what else I would do with it. I mean, I could move to the X-Jet, but there's no, all I would do there is clear a civilian. I could move to the lighthouse and start working on that threat, but then we've got a ton of people there. And I don't need to lose 3 people in one go for some reason. The telepathy effect, though, is going to let Gambit swap 2 of his cards. Or Ms. Marvel, actually. Because she's next, and she could get some double wilds and a double attack. Gambit's triple attacks are better, but he has to spend a token. He only has 1 token left. And they don't get shared. So that's key. Ms. Marvel's cards will get shared. So, you know what? We're going to telepathy Ms. Marvel's cards instead. She was going to use morphogenetics to reclaim her cards, but if we can just dish out damage, we don't have to spend time doing that. We can just use telepathy to get back this card, swapping it with a card from her hand, as well as that one over there, the double attack. And then it is Ms. Marvel's turn before Nimrod goes again. She's in the same space as he is. I don't think it's likely I'm going to lose. It's just how hard do I get hit? But just for the sake of ending the game, well, I do get to draw a card as well, but yeah, it's unlikely it's going to be better than one of these. So we'll just play the double wild again and hit for 3 damage, putting Nimrod down to 3. He gets to go next. And let's see how bad this is. Move clockwise to the next location with the hero with the most cards. Well, everybody has 2. So he's just going to come around to Squirrel Girl and then bam. Bam meaning to hit her for 1. So I'm just going to have her lose this single wild card. She's down to 1 card in hand. And then this card is adding a thug to this location, which there's no room for. So that's going to be an overflow. It's also going to add 2 thugs to each of the 2 adjacent locations. Neither of them has room for it. So that's actually 3 overflows. So we move from 4 up to 7. Nothing happens immediately. The only thing that track does is A, if it's 15 we lose, or B, if he bams, now it would be more damage. But the things on this card happen in order, and so Squirrel Girl just took 1. So future bams from him will deal 2, but there will be no future bams from him because now it's Squirrel Girl's turn, and she's going to draw a card. She drew double wild, but we're playing Squirrel Army. It's going to deal 1 damage to every villain, or rather each enemy in every location. So the squirrels get to nibble on Nimrod, and then she's got 1, 2, 3 attacks, or rather 2 are wild. So maybe clear a civilian for good measure and then do 2 damage. And the squirrels finish off Nimrod, and we win. So I was a little afraid. I thought this was going to be harder. It wasn't a total cakewalk, but nobody got knocked out. The track stayed white most of the time. I was playing with the double wilds because I was worried, and I added the danger room too for that reason. But in fact, I mean, the double wilds definitely helped more than they hurt, but they were a little bit scary at the beginning against the Sentinels. Definitely recommend if you're playing a lot of wild symbols to clear the Sentinel productions, the healing threats, before playing a bunch of those. But anyway, the heroes got there in the end. Thanks for watching. Subscribe so we can get more subscribers, and bye.